Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about my Mini Cooper S. Now I actually bought this car last October. Last September I decided I wanted a winter daily driver. The brief was simple. It had to be cheap to buy, fun to drive and reliable. Now if you're into cars at all, you'll know that you don't really get those three things all in one car. Usually you can only get cheap to buy, fun to drive but it's not reliable, or it's reliable and cheap but it's not that fun. So in this video I'm going to be answering the question, can you get cheap to buy, fun to drive and reliable? And are all three of those possible with the Mini Cooper S? But first of all, let me give you a brief walk round of the Mini Cooper S. Now this is the second generation of the new BMW Minis. It's the R56, which followed on from the R53. There are a few differences on the exterior. For example, the front grille is slightly bigger. This has a twin panoramic sunroof. The rear spoiler is slightly different on the R56, as well as the back bumper. The inside of this car is equally as nice looking as the outside. You have these nice big circular dials, one right in the middle here, and there's a smaller one for your rev counter right in front of the driver. You also have these nice seats here. They're not bucket seats or anything like that, but they're quite supportive, they're quite comfortable. I also really like these toggle switches down here and up here. It kind of makes you feel like you're operating a fighter jet of sorts, which is really quite fun. We have two cup holders down here, which are quite handy. Fun fact here, these buttons and dials here for your heating and air conditioning are shaped like the Mini badge. You've got a glove box down here and a secret glove box here, which has an iPod connector, which is, well, that's pretty much useless in 2025, but there we go. Under the bonnet we find what many people consider to be the worst engine BMW has ever fitted to a car, except it's not a BMW engine, it's actually a Peugeot engine. It's the same one you find in the Peugeot 208 GTI. It's known as the N14 engine. It's a 1.6 litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, and it makes 189 brake horsepower and around 300 Newton meters of torque. That's good for a 0 to 60 of 6.9 seconds and a top speed of 146 miles per hour. But that's where the good news ends with this engine, because unfortunately it is quite unreliable. That's quite problematic. There's lots of things that can go wrong and have already went wrong with this one. The first of the unreliability problems is to do with the oil in the engine. Now this engine inherently uses some oil, and unfortunately previous owners may or may not have kept up with their oil services or topped it up regularly, and what that means is that the timing chain guide wears away. It's made of plastic, and as it wears, bits break up and can get inside the engine and cause catastrophic failure. What can also happen though is the chain tensioner can degrade, and then the chain itself can rattle about, then it can also snap, which can also cause catastrophic failure. Oil leaks, they are quite known for oil leaks. There's a few common areas that leak. The oil filter housing, the gaskets in them tend to deteriorate over time and they leak. I've had mine replaced, that's why it was in the garage for quite some time. The coolant, various bits in the coolant can also degrade over time and leak. And the coolant expansion bottle right here is another common point to fail there. It's also made of plastic, and again over time that goes brittle and it cracks, and I've had to get a new one for mine. But yeah, it is quite unreliable and there is a lot of things that can go wrong, and it needs a lot of maintenance and a lot of looking after and things like that. But if you do all that and you look after it and you maintain it, and I would say, you know, shorten the service intervals. Instead of servicing it by the book, as in, I don't know, I think it's about 10,000 miles they recommend doing an oil change. I would probably do an oil change every 4,000 to 5,000 miles. I know that seems quite excessive for what is basically just a normal, you know, hatchback, but they're really fun cars to drive, and you want to keep this in good condition so you can enjoy it for years to come. So yeah, that's the engine, the N14 engine, which is commonly found in the earlier R56 Cooper S's. Quite unreliable, quite problematic, but if you get the bit sorted and you keep on top of it and you keep on top of the maintenance, it's not actually that bad. So then you're probably wondering, Why, if this car is so unreliable and so problematic and already caused me so many problems since I've owned it, have I not decided to stick it back up for sale and get something a bit more reliable? Well, there's one very good answer to that question. Oh, it's a lot of fun to drive. And things get even better when you put it in sport mode. Now what that does is it sharpens up the throttle response and it makes the steering wheel a little bit heavier. And that does make a difference, because this car then goes from easy to manoeuvre, slightly soft city car to, well, kind of makes it feel like a sports car, and not in a cliche kind of way. It really does feel that good. Okay, guys, slow down. To try and use a journalistic simile or metaphor to describe driving this car, physically and emotionally it's a bit like riding a roller coaster. You're pretty much holding on for dear life as you go round the corners, up and down, just hoping and praying that nothing breaks. Oh God, it's an absolute thrill. And then when you get to the end, everything slows down and you come to a stop. You're thankful. You're thankful that you made it to the end. You're thankful that the car made it to the end. Part of you wants to go again. In fact, all of you wants to go again, let's be honest, because it's just such a thrill. The steering on this car, in sport mode anyway, is very direct. It's very fast, quite a fast steering rack. It doesn't take much input to get a lot of steering done, which is quite good for sporty driving. And at the end of the day, you can drive into town and it's quiet, it's comfortable, it's easy to park, it's easy to see out of. You can even put some shopping in the boot. Granted, not actually that much more than you can put in the boot of a Lotus, but you've got back seats as well. I just love this car. I know it's got its problems, and I know at some point in the future I'm going to have more, but right now, on this road, with this weather, yeah, I have no complaints. And all this, £2,500. Bargain of the century. Bargain of the century. There are a few things, however, I dislike about this car. Since I can't spend the whole video talking about how much I love it, let's go over a few things I don't like about it. So the first thing are the doors. They are quite big and they're quite heavy, and they do have a tendency when you open them to not stay open. The next thing I don't like about it though is a little bit more important, and that is the dashboard. Now, I like the fact that we have the rev counter right here in the middle, and I do actually quite like the big circular speedometer. However, it does lack some important information, more specifically a lack of a coolant temperature gauge. And a car like this, it tends to get driven quite sporty, and they do have problems with overheating. I feel like not having a temperature gauge is not ideal. Another thing I don't like about this car, and you could argue it's probably quite a minor thing, is the gear knob. I just don't like the way it feels. It's too big, it's too circular, it doesn't really fit nice in the hand. It could do with a nicer gear knob, if I'm honest. But yeah, as far as dislikes, nothing really too major, nothing too big. Temperature gauge is probably the most important one, but you can get aftermarket items that plug into your OBD, and you can get various readouts such as coolant temperature, oil pressure, things like that. So that might be something to look into in the future, as well as a new gear knob. Go on. It does, it just makes you smile. It really does make you smile, this car. What a bit of road! What a car! On the brakes. And they're good brakes as well. Oh, I love this car. At the start of this video, I asked the question, can you get cheap to buy, fun to drive and reliable? Well, I think we proved you can definitely get two of them. But do I care about the third one? Not really. Thanks for watching. Hi. Help?